I'll second that. Bo Crowding, Chester County.
Thank you, Bo.
Thank you, Bo.
There's been a motion and a second to accept the minutes. On the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Noes? The ayes have it. Okay, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Jerry and do a brief roll call. Penny, are you on the line with us?
Do not see her. We are recording the meeting at this time, just to let everybody know for full disclosure. At this time, we're going to do people are joining the meeting as we are continuing. We're going to do just a brief introduction. I will call the first name of the person, and you could just introduce yourself very quickly. There are some phones that come up, and I'll say who that is, but just unmute yourself and then just introduce yourself very briefly. We're simulating going around the room, discussing what's going on. So I'm going to start with Bill Genoway.
Here.
Jim Carstetter.
Here.
Just so in case there's some new people, just let us know what organization you represent and where you're from.
We know Jim and Bill.
Larry Bogman.
Firemen's Association, State of PA.
Thank you. And where are you? You're from Franklin, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Very good. John Cudo.
Northeastern Pennsylvania Volunteer Firemen's Federation. I'm in Taylor, Pennsylvania, right below the city of Scranton.
Thank you, John. And thanks for sharing the Facebook posts. I appreciate that.
John, you have snow yet?
No,
I
they get it more in Erie first.
I got someone on the line that has owner of phone. So whoever owner is, please introduce yourself. The owner disappeared. So next up is Tom Franklin.
Good morning. Tom Franklin, Bradford County Firemen.
Good morning, Tom.
Morning, Tom. Red, you're up next.
Fun. We all know where Red's from.
Yes.
Hey, Jerry.
Yes, are you online?
The link that you sent is coming up. The host has another meeting in progress.
Okay. All right, stand by.
Doing that for a lot of people. Because I keep getting emails that say, hey, I can't get in.
All righty, we're working on our technical issues here. Hold on a second then. Thank you. All righty.
Stand by. We have people waiting to get on the link and we're having a little problem. So please be patient.
All right, we've got lots of people coming online. So hold on one second here. All righty here. All right, everybody, we're just going to have to go with it, Tom, or go with it, Frank. So you want to continue with your part of the meeting.
Okay, I'm just going to go over what we expect to cover this morning. And so I apologize we couldn't get an agenda out before this morning. We will have the executive director's report, fire chief survey, legislative report, an update on the junior fireman talking group. That report will include House Bill 1673, Senate Bill 1274, House Bill 1838, and Senate Bill 94. We'll talk a little bit about the letter that went out in reference to the relief, and we'll update you under new business as to where the Institute is, the address, and how we're working remotely right now. So with that said, I'll turn the meeting over right now to our executive director for his report.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. And I will be sharing my screen here for 1 second. Just stand by. Give you a kind of a update on what's going on here, and we will certainly hope to answer some of your questions that you may have. So you should be looking at a PowerPoint right now. So we'll be going down through, talk a little bit about, obviously the Institute has been very honored to have sponsors to keep us going. And we have been communicating with our sponsors over the last couple of months. Obviously, we've had to cancel our premier event, and our board of directors has been doing a great job at communicating and making sure that everyone knows that we are still out doing the mission. We've been very actively involved, making sure that that things get done. What I'm going to first present today is I'm going to be presenting the results of a fire chief survey that was done across Pennsylvania. And the fire chief survey, many of you have seen. It was the maps that I've been sending out over the last about 6 to 8 months ago. This was completed by the Center for Rural Pennsylvania, and the survey was valid. It came in from all over the Commonwealth, and there was a survey that was done in 2001, 2012, and 2019. So some of the themes of the survey is that fire companies rely mostly on word of mouth and family as recruitment methods. And when we look at those recruitment methods, okay, those were the same highest responses in 2012 and 2019. The top reasons why firefighters leave volunteer service are job and family commitments and moving out of the area, and that the majority of fire companies have some sort of retention program, So when we asked the chiefs, and again, the Center for Rural Pennsylvania ran the survey. This was the one that it was a survey that was mailed out. The average fire company in 2019, okay, there's the total number of members, and then active members, and then members that respond to calls on a regular basis. And that was about 16.3 members respond to calls on a regular basis. And again, again, we had a wide, diverse group that responded to the survey. Membership. So, and this is nothing new to any of you that have been involved in this over a period of time. From 2001, when the first survey happened and the Institute was involved in that, to now, there's been a 58% decline in total membership, okay? A 58% decline in total membership. And from 2001 to 2019, an 18% decline, okay? And again, there's some of the graphs and charts and things like this, and I have links to these surveys for you. And this is the stuff that you could use when you communicate with your elected officials and your local officials and data, what's going on, and see if this is happening in your organization too. New members. However, here's another thing too, is 94% of the fire companies said that new members are joining, okay? New members are joining. Rural fire companies had less than 5.5 of the average. Urban fire companies had 6.8. So there are new members joining, okay? There are new members that are joining the department. So how do they recruit? And they asked a lot of questions about recruiting. Word of mouth and walk-ins is the most one used, okay? Word of mouth and walk-ins, and then family and friends. And you'll see here on the screen, open houses and community days, presentations at local businesses, and it just goes down from there, okay? It just goes down from there. Why are people leaving? Why are people leaving? And the barriers to recruitment. And again, if you have seen some of our presentations that we've done before, when 26% of the fire companies said one of the barriers to recruiting is declining population in their area. 43% said aging population in their area. 20% said no formal recruitment program. 19% said a lack of public awareness. And this is very interesting, which is not different. 90% of the fire companies that responded said one of the barriers to recruitment was the time commitment involved in being a volunteer. And that many of you on this call know this, on this meeting, know this statistic very well. The complexity of being in the fire service in Pennsylvania today is greatly different than it was many, many years ago. So understanding what the barriers to recruitment are. The age of the new members, okay, the age of the new members. 67% that said that the new members in their organization were under 30 years old, 67%. 33% were over 30 years old. Reasons for leaving. And by the way, if you guys look at this screen and that ladder truck that's in that picture right there, I got to drive the truck on that working fire, by the way, just to let you know. Okay, look at that positioning, by the way, too. How about that, Frank? So reasons for leaving, okay? Reasons for leaving. Job and employment commitments, okay? Moved away from the area, family commitments, lack of interest, okay? School, personality conflicts, and one of the ones there were, and you look at the study over time, again, 2019, 60% said because of employment and family commitments. And to be honest with you, that's understandable when, again, a volunteer is that, a volunteer, okay? People have family and work commitments. And as you see the demographics change in your community, and as you see different things change, you will certainly continue to see that kind of stuff. So the conclusions of this first part, there's two parts of it that I'm going to report, is there's been a continued downward shift in company size. Most fire companies are recruiting and retaining members. Multiple methods of recruitment has positive results. And I know Bill Genoway and the Firemen's Association of the State of Pennsylvania, in his SAFER grant and the SAFER grant that they work on and studies in the past, have said that same thing. Multiple methods of recruitment. Increased age of new members. Aging and declining populations are real barriers. Okay, aging and are real barriers. I'm admitting some more people to the meeting right now. Hold on one second. And then just the next couple slides here, we'll move on to the next piece. As soon as I brought some more people into the meeting here, let me close. I gotta close this. All right. So this is an interesting statistic. 56% of the fire chiefs that responded said their companies were unable to respond to some of the calls over the past 2 years. In 2012, it was 44%. And we'll get into that in a little bit here to show you the details on unable to respond to calls. 39% of the fire companies that have strategic plans, and the majority of those plans are apparatus replacement plans. And 34% have discussed consolidation or regionalization over the previous 2 years. So your types of new members, okay, the types of active members in the fire company, and all of you know this. The average fire company has 13.7 interior qualified, 8.2 exterior qualified firefighters, and 2.9 fire police members, okay? And again, here's your age breakdown and the number of female firefighters in the department, okay? And in 2012, it was 2.5. 2019, it was 2.7, a little bump there. But you look at that graph, okay, it's kind of broken out pretty equally in regards to the number of firefighters there. Age of active firefighters, that's what I meant. So the ability to unable to respond. So you look at that pie chart to the left, 44% of the fire company said they could respond to every call, okay? 56% said they were unable to respond to one or more calls. So they broke that down. Out of that 56%, 72% of those said they were unable to respond to less than 10 calls, okay? And the highest one is over 20 calls. 10% of those fire companies were unable to respond. And then the reason for unable to respond was to the right there. The insufficient crew and no driver, insufficient crew and no driver. So service area, and this is significant, and we're kind of coming to the end of this, is as this presentation is also used in training with municipal officials, okay? So the complexity of the fire service in Pennsylvania is directly related to the number of fire companies and number of municipalities served. So for example, the municipality that Frank and I are sitting in, we have one fire company, one municipality. So 39% of those that responded to this survey are in that piece. And what we mean by that is the complexity is a little bit less compared to, there's 25% of the fire companies that responded have first due in 3 to 4 municipalities. And the complexity of that is those fire companies have to work with 3 or 4 different municipalities to get funding and service area, and conflicts always occur when, 2 of the municipalities might have a fire tax, the third one doesn't, and everyone's complaining about one thing or another. So you see the complexities. And again, in areas of Pennsylvania, 12% of the fire companies have served first due service area in 5 or more municipalities. So that was an important statistic. And back to fundraising, okay? We all know that fundraising still is a major piece in Pennsylvania. And when you look at the statistics for fundraising, 1 to 4 events, 6 to 9 events, 10 to 24, over 20, 15% of the fire companies in 2019 that responded to the survey have over 25% of fundraising events. And that has decreased. You'll see that has decreased. So strategic planning, we had a question about strategic planning that was added to that. 39% said they had a plan, but when you look at the topics, okay, we had the topics of apparatus and equipment replacement, financial sustainability. Do you have a plan for financial sustainability? 75% said they had. Relationships with municipalities, recruitment and retention, that's 61%. That is something that we all need to bump that. If you plan to remain a volunteer department or a strong volunteer department, that 61% probably needs to be given as much, okay, maybe look at the camera here, as much attention as purchasing apparatus. Because almost 90% of the people said they got a plan for purchasing apparatus, but only 60% said recruitment and retention planning. So that's one of those takeaways that I thought was very important that we could help communicate to. And regionalization, here's a little slide on regionalization. It's pretty much been the same from 2012 to 2019, but most, there's, 67%, did not really discuss regionalization compared to 66% in 2019. It's a little bit more. So again, that's something and an option in some areas that people talk about. So again, in wrapping up this part of the presentation, there continues to be aging membership in our volunteer organizations across Pennsylvania. Consolidation of regional discussions is not being driven by membership or financial issues. Okay, that's what was one of the findings. Fundraising events have declined. Difficulties in responding to calls remain a problem, and strategic planning is not universal. So if anybody wants the details of these surveys and read the surveys, I know I posted them on the Institute's website a couple of months ago. I pushed them out on Facebook a couple of months ago, but those are the details. And what I wanted to tell all of you again is, and what the important piece of this is to, read it, take a look at it, use it in your community to help communicate some of the statewide trends that are going on. Okay, Frank, that's the end of this part of the presentation.
Okay, let's do our legislative update.
Okay, so again, this is what we're going to do. Is, we're going to run through our agenda, and then we're going to go to questions, and we'll be monitoring the questions as they come in. So if you have a specific question, you could type it into the piece. So here's the four major things that are going on right now, and let me tell you, if you guys have been watching our social media or watching what's going on, we're down to the wire. I know that we work very well with the legislative committee from the Firemen's Association of the state of Pennsylvania. Tom Santana, their lobbyist, and I communicate on a regular basis. We're all working together. But here's the four big pieces that we see that may be three big pieces. Let me take that back. Three big pieces. And I'll explain each one of these. 1673, the Omnibus Fire Service Bill. The House Bill 1838, the funding for mental health for EMS and MSOF funding increase. That's going to be, that's one of the things that we're focusing on. Senate Bill 94 in regards to workers' compensation for members that assist. This will require SWIFT, the State Workers' Compensation Fund, that will cover social members, and that term, we have to be concerned about that term, that are actively involved in supporting a volunteer fire company. They would be covered under SWIFT. So there was some movement last week on that. I'm going to leave 1274 off right now for countywide fire and EMS authorities. That's not going to move this session at all. We're going to have to wait till the next 2-year session for that. So let me specifically discuss what's coming up with 1673, and I'm going to switch over to another. I'm going to switch over to another document, and let me just check to see if anybody is in the waiting room. So you will see that is. Hold on one second here. I've got that. Alrighty, let me screen share this one. Gonna make this a little bigger here for a sec. So,
hey, Jerry,
yes.
before you go on, there are others that cannot get in. So, can you email that link and I'll try to email it to them?
Okay, I did just text it to you, Penny.
I know, but I can't email it if it's on from my phone to the people on the swab.
Okay, hold on one
So I
second.
need to email it.
1 second here.
Okay.
Good morning, Penny.
Morning.
And you did hear Jerry giving the approval to record the meeting?
I did.
Okay, it is, we are off and running, so it just went to you there.
Okay,
So if you could take a look at this document, I received a call last week in regards to a bunch of bills that, if you guys remember from SR6, there was a bunch of bills that the House passed. We had the press conference in October. It went through the House Veterans Affairs and Emergency Preparedness Committee. It went to the House. They passed it. It all got dumped into the Senate. And it got dumped to the Senate Veterans Affairs and Emergency Preparedness Committee. And the Senate had like 5 bills that were out there. And they kind of, at the end here, they threw everything together in this omnibus fire service bill. Okay. So what I can tell you is that people are telling me, the people that are the staff behind the scenes are telling me that they are going to make things happen. Okay. But as you well know, and many of you that are involved in this for many years, you don't know what happens behind the scenes. I have been told that the only reason why the omnibus bill happened is because it was approved by leadership. Okay. And that's a good sign. And Tom and I both feel that's a good sign. So here's what the omnibus bill would do. And if you look at the screen, there state fire commissioner duties. Okay. And again, a lot of this was part of the SR6. The commissioner report directly to the governor's office and to be confirmed by the Senate. This is elevating the profile and stature of the commissioner. Serves as the primary representative for fire services in the Commonwealth. Talks about the curriculum development, the State Fire Academy. We added and worked with that to assist with statewide recruitment and retention efforts. So currently there's nothing in any law that says the fire commissioner has to do anything in regards to recruitment and retention. So, that was, if you want to be part of a mission of an organization where there's a commonwealth that has a ton of volunteer departments, that's an important thing to have. And then the concept of a statewide advisory board that has advisory pieces to the commissioner's office, and there's a diverse group of associations that are part of that, and statewide representation. Okay. The next one is the Fire and EMS Grant Program. That's the $30 million grant program, and to reauthorize that. Okay. $25 million comes from gaming dollars, $5 million comes from the general fund and fireworks. Okay. So the big deal and the big changes, it would reauthorize it. Okay. It would reauthorize it. It would increase what you could use the program for. Public education, fire prevention, and community risk reduction programs, volunteer recruitment and retention programs, length of service programs, if you wanted to use it for that. And they also developed what was called construction savings accounts. If you wanted to use save that money, that grant money, and not expend it every year, there was a request from someone to develop these construction savings accounts for people that want to do that. The next one is the Fire Relief Program. And that transfers the administration of the program to the commissioner's office. It permits the use of some other things, including recruitment and retention of firefighters. LOSOP programs, facilities, pretty much opening this up to be used for a few things, for more things, okay? Including stipends and stuff like that. It does call for that statewide advisory board to review the current funding formula. There's a paragraph in there that would put together a requirement for the office of the commissioner to look at the funding formula, and make recommendations to the General Assembly. The Loan Assistance Program. The Loan Assistance Program would put a ballot referendum together to add municipal fire departments, because it has to be approved in the primary election, or the primary election, to add career departments to this, and it also formalizes the loan application committee. Volunteer fire responder tax credits. If you're familiar with Act 172 for the municipal ones, this adds county property taxes in school districts, permits municipalities to work through councils of governments to establish earned income tax credits. Again, this is something that is a benefit in some areas where they have it, and other areas, to be honest with you, it requires a lot of cooperation and intergovernmental cooperation for this to happen, but we've seen it work. So as we finish this portion, here is all the bills that there's pieces of all of this list of bills that are in this omnibus bill. So, and now we will see there's a couple of legislative days left, and we'll see what happens. Let me stop sharing this, and we will go back to, there's people there. Okay. Up to over 30 people. So let me go back to the junior firemen's. Hold on one second here, Frank. So again, back to this slide. Again, that omnibus bill. And to be honest with you, I'm hopeful it'll happen. So we will see. House Bill 1837. If you have noticed, the Pennsylvania Emergency Health Services Council and the Ambulance Association of Pennsylvania sent out a legislative alert requesting all of emergency services providers to contact their senators in regards to 1838 And when we get down for some reports, Jeanette could probably talk a little bit more on that. What that does is that would allow for when MSOP funding comes from when somebody, police officers write a ticket for someone, there's a fund, and there's a little bit of a deficit in it right now, and that would increase the fees for that. And again, I discussed Senate Bill 94, the workers' compensation. Just very briefly, that countywide fire and EMS authorities, that started with out of Delaware County, and there was some work with the County Commissioners Association, and there's been a ton of work that actually has gone into this. Multiple meetings that have occurred over the last couple of months. It's still a work in progress. There's still some concerns in regards to several things in regards to that. But I would anticipate more meetings and more stakeholders in regards to that. So with that, one more thing on my end, and we'll open it up, is the Pennsylvania Junior Firefighting, the PFESI working group. So we were requested to put together a working group by several members of the General Assembly to talk about the future of junior firefighting. Okay. And I put a message out, and we had a bunch of people provide some feedback about junior firefighting. We had 16 people attend a Zoom meeting, and we spent about 2 hours. Frank was part of that, and this was some of our bullet points. Okay. You know, and it you know, there's a lot of great discussion about it. Okay. And it talked about, the two biggest things that came out with it was, allowing junior firefighters, permitting junior firefighters at the age of 17, the recommendation out of this group, and we're going to be formalizing this to recommend that they be allowed to take their final module of interior firefighting training at 17. And the other one, somebody had a recommendation of loosening up the hours that they're able to participate based on using what you have for a junior license and things like that when you drive a car. So stand by for some more information on that. And we did get people that were very interested in that. So
and the highlight of that meeting, just an FYI, was a majority of the people at that meeting felt that was age appropriate for training and not for live calls. So you know what direction we're looking at. There was a lot of firefighters at 17 going in live fires and not on a training site. So, and it seemed like the committee was moving more towards getting through their interior firefighting on a training and waiting till they're 18 to actually go inside live burns.
All righty. So what else do we got? So we got, I'm sure some of you have questions. So what else do you have on your end, Frank?
I'd like to go through the meeting and then we can back up. If people want to stay on, that's fine. But I'd like, under new business right now, to talk a little bit about where the Institute is right now. We've moved from our State Street address to work remotely, and maybe Jerry could bring us up to date with that.
As many of you know or may not know, that the Harrisburg Firemen's Relief Association did sell the building that we were in. And, our board of directors, we worked over a couple of months with a committee of the board of directors, and the recommendation came back to develop a remote, and that has been accomplished. The Institute does have a PO box, and we will be getting that information out to everyone. The phone number will remain the same, but we've been able to, I felt pretty comfortable with the ability to make the recommendation. And so just to let you guys know that we are no longer at the 223 State Street address, but we are still out here doing the mission. So.
Okay, very good. Also under new business, Chad Deardoff, our vice chair of our board, is willing to host our next SWAB meeting, which is hopefully March of next year, and have it down in York County. So we have agreed with Chad to do that. Hopefully we're not going to be in virtual meetings at that time. Maybe we'll be over to Hump. The other thing, and we'll move into old business, and then I'll open the communications here for everybody to talk. Under old business, we never did receive a letter in regards to our relief letter that went out to the governor. We never received any, absolutely zero correspondence back on that letter. I know several people have asked about that, and it just never happened. So we'll have to discuss at some point where we want to go in the future and move on that, or just let these House bills run and Senate bills run the way they are. And then the other thing to report from the SWAB is the Institute has formed a legacy league where we have people that are involved for many, many years, and not even officers, just attend the meetings. And I think back about John Weeks, who, when I even started as a young person in this association, John was always there at the meetings, spreading a good word, working for the Institute, asking nothing in return. And when John passed away in February, there was a donation of $10,000 to the Institute. Well received, and not very surprised. John, if John could have done that while he was alive, he probably would have done it. But that's the ongoing support that the Institute has to keep in mind, is those people that were the brick and mortar of starting this and staying involved and only having the interest from their heart, nothing in return. So I just want everybody today to understand there are people like John's family who have donated, and there are others and many others, and we're going to try and keep that legacy information going in all our SWAB meetings. Just kudos to John and his family. He'll truly be missed. But at that time, Jerry, I have nothing else to discuss under new business if you want to open it up for questions from our.
So certainly. So here's how I have found that facilitating these meetings has worked very well. Okay. And this is how we're going to do this. I'm going to go down my list here and call your name. And if you have a question, here's your time to ask it. And we'll kind of go back and forth. And if someone has an answer that's out there, okay, we'll let you come in and talk. So I'm going to start. Looks like I do have someone that has their hand raised. Richard Grove. Richard, do you have a question?
Tell them how to unmute so they know. Rich, are you with us?
Guess not.
Okay.
Okay. Rich Wagner, any questions from you?
Not at this time, Jerry.
Ted from Cranberry, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I didn't get into like slide 17. Can you guys send out the presentation and the notes, please?
Absolutely, Ted. I'll do that. Richard, I see you're back. Richard Grove, you have a question? Okay, Bill Genoway, anything from you?
Thanks, Jerry. Two quick things. First of all, I believe that the information that was presented from the rural organization pretty much mirrors every study that's been done in the past 25 years in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I really didn't hear anything new, but I think that there's value in understanding the consistency of our inability to effectively recruit and retain people in our organizations. I'm going to make a radical statement here. I find it very interesting that 89% of the fire departments have an apparatus replacement plan, but only 61% have a recruitment and retention plan. If you cannot keep people in a fire department, why would you buy fire trucks? If you can't put people in the seats, there's no value in buying a new fire truck. So it really really annoys me in some ways that prioritization has come to toys as opposed to personnel and making sure that there's sustainability of organizations. So that was one. And then I'll tout the Firemen's Association's recruitment and retention plan. The first round of grant offerings is pretty much coming to an end now. They will start being offered or issued within the next 2 weeks. I've got to get the information out to the team for review, and then they'll be distributed. Then the second round of grants looks like it'll go after the first of the year. Maximum 5,000 can only be done for advertising or marketing or what I'll call sales, and it cannot include trinkets anymore. And those are all FEMA control points. So it's changed from what it was in the past, but that's going to happen. And then I'll tout, there's been a lot of stuff added to the website for departments to help them with ideas to recruit and retain members. And that, don't forget, it's becomeapafirefighter.com. Other than that, thanks for your continued work during the coronavirus situation, the storms that we've had, and all the other challenges that have occurred. I know it's not an easy job, and look forward to the meeting next March in person.
Thanks, Bill.
Sounds good. Jim Carstetter, if you want to do a little, you have any comments, feedback, questions?
Oh, yes, I do. Several comments. Number one, regarding the omnibus bill, a little bit concerned about the realistic expectation that it's going to be completed. I had heard the comment that you had made earlier about the fact that it had been in consultation with leadership before they did that, and the notation that because they were amending a House bill to do that, they were hoping for concurrence in the House when the Senate sent it back. And so talking with some of the staffers from our House delegation up here, I'm not getting the sense that the House leadership necessarily was involved or in those discussions or committed to a concurrence vote if that is actually returned to the House. And as it relates to the grant bill, I am concerned about it not getting renewed until next session as a result of that. I hope that's wrong, but I'm very concerned about that. And then speaking on the grant bill, we had our county executive has appointed a county recruitment and retention committee in Erie County, and we had a meeting on the 29th of September, and Don DeRamus took part in that meeting. And one of the things that bothered me about that meeting was that at this late date, apparently the AAP has decided that they would like to see the money in the grant bill that goes to the EMS grants be taken out of that program and put into another pot of money that would increase the ability for billing payments, especially under Medicaid, and to bring that up this late in the game without consultation with any of the rest of us annoys me to no end. And of course that created some questions, and it came up in reference to a conversation we were having about the authorities. And it appeared that they and PSATs and CCAP really haven't taken any kind of a position on it. And I'm a little bit concerned about creating some confusion with the legislature this late into the game. And I don't know, Jerry, if you want to comment on that or not.
I can only comment on that it's not a good thing to create confusion at this late in the game. I could agree with you on that. And I will agree with you that several of those organizations have not made a commitment or a support of the way 1274 was there. But there was several, again, there's several associations that did, okay? But the ones that you mentioned, I don't know the final count on who supported and who did not, but I did know that that there was not AAP did not come out with a recommendation or a support on that. I don't believe so. Some of the municipal associations were positive about it, and others did not. We're not going to oppose it per se, but it is some work. And again, for those of you that are not familiar with this was to develop fire and EMS authorities by amending the Municipal Authority Act in Pennsylvania, which this is something brand new for fire and EMS. In helping, the concept that came out of Delaware County was not to take over fire departments or take over EMS, but authorities have wide ability to provide administrative support and assistance. If someone would want to do, if someone would want to do something different in regards to a countywide staffing plan or something like that, that vehicle is ability. Authorities can also assess a user fee to its members, and the concept of that would be to multiple municipalities or a county would get together. And again, in certain parts of rural Pennsylvania, the counties, we had a hearing, and the county that we were in was ready to go immediately. Okay, they had everybody on board, and this specifically had to deal with EMS. And again, this is the view that was being talked about with this is just another tool in the toolbox. But that's what that is. So that was a long answer to your question, but I do appreciate what you're doing in Erie County in regards to that recruitment and retention committee, and also from EmergiCare, that information from Mr. Haggerty was very important too. And all of that will be passed on to the people that are working on this. Thank you.
What about your thoughts on this Omnibus 1673's chances should the Senate pass it?
So here's my personal opinion is I was told that Barrar has signed off on it. That was number one. And number two is Senator Regan's executive director is running the bill, and he is personally tied to it as much as we are. And that's my best intelligence I have right now, Jim. That's all I know.
Well, I'd suggest everybody contact their senators and House members to try to get this thing done.
Okay. And actually, Jim, that's what I'm kind of waiting. I'm waiting to hear from, waiting to hear from my contact to say, is there a date? There's like 4 or 5 dates left, I think. Is this going to happen? And then I would ask him, to get things out, and you will definitely get notified. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Let me get down through here. Does anybody else have instead of me reading down through everybody else, so I got, let's see here, Jim. Larry Bogman, do you have any questions at all?
I was just wondering where our good friend Ernie Rojon is.
I just made it.
Okay.
Got it. Red, do you have anything from Chester County?
Yeah, I do. 2 things. One, I guess, keying on what Bill Genoway said, how we can have so much big apparatus worried about in a looking forward in your plan, but we don't even provide health issues, i.e. the physicals, and again, taking care of things around the firehouse, i.e. sprinkling the buildings. Bill knows about not sprinkling buildings. So the other question I have for the board, and Jerry, you don't have somebody on the board maybe, financially, how are we doing? And is there plans, and I'll just say a fundraising effort, and I'll just use this as an analogy, chance off a shotgun. I don't know, but I'm just saying, is there anything in the works from the board standpoint of making sure financially we stay sound.
Well, thank you very much, Red. And we're currently in the midst of our annual fund drive where every fire department in Pennsylvania was sent a letter asking for a $50 donation. And if 25% of the letters send back a $50 donation, we would bring in 30,000, and that would take us well into the first and second quarter of next year. Okay. So what we're currently doing is I am contacting individuals that I know in each of the counties, and there's probably like 12 counties that I don't have a key contact, and I'm personally asking those individuals to personally contact members of their fire departments to just consider a donation. That's what the plan is, Red. And our board is going to be meeting in November, I believe the second week in November, and they will be discussing the the next kind of steps. So we're moving forward, but we're going to continue to do those opportunities.
I'll bring another thing up here while we're waiting for more questions. Is Jerry and I had a long conversation over the fire commissioner and this advisory board, and my concerns, personal concerns, are we should be soliciting right now to look at a replacement for Bruce when he retires, and whether it's Democrat or Republican, whoever's in office, is our organization, the state association, the institute, should be recommending a person or persons to be considered for the fire commissioner's job. I think it would behoove us to do that now and start looking, versus looking down the road and saying, boy, it's a political assignment. They're going to be the head of an advisory board and they're from a different discipline. They have no interest in fire or EMS. And I think, and believe me, speaking from working for the state for 41 years, that will happen. It'll be an appointment of somebody that's in there that has absolutely no interest in our cause, our wishes, our concerns. And before that happens, I really think we need to start looking ahead and doing a strong recommendation in that field. I don't know how the rest of the group feels, but I feel very strongly about that.
Thank you, Frank. Bill Genoway, he's waving his hand.
I think Frank makes a great point. And I think maybe rather than an individual, we should identify as a group the key functions that we see that office performing, the capabilities, skills, and knowledge sets that that person has to have, and recommendations on even some things that could be done to better the fire service, so that we can provide, people throw names out all the time about who's a right person for that job. Well, what's the job? And how do we assure that that job is going to meet the needs of Pennsylvania's fire service? So maybe we should put a little task force together to talk about what that role actually should be and play within the guidelines of the enabling legislation for the state fire commissioner. And then make sure that whoever the candidates are, and we can even suggest a candidate at that point. But I think rather than start to throw names and darts up to a board, we ought to structure how we're going to do that.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks.
I agree.
I'm going to go to the next person to my screen is Jeanette. Could you kind of give an update and feedback, please?
Good morning, everybody. I just want to follow up on that last conversation a little bit. I do have some concerns, and I haven't looked at this legislation in detail, but I do have some concerns about the advisory board for the fire service, just ensuring that they actually would meet. When you have the fire commissioner as the president of that board and also as the fire commissioner, I think you can see the politicalness of that, and that would be a concern for everyone long term. So along with identifying the roles and responsibilities of the fire commissioner and their qualifications, I think you should look also at what the advisory board should do in terms of meeting. I don't know if they can do that in regulation, and then perhaps it's constructed properly in the law, so in the proposed law. So I apologize if I didn't catch that. Anyway, from an EMS side of the house, truly, our focus right now is House Bill 1838. This bill is at the finish line, and this is why we're putting a lot of pressure on it. This would, as Jerry described, the MSOP fund is coming from traffic violations. $10 since 1985 has been operating the EMS system in Pennsylvania. Actually, we only get 75% of that fund. 25% goes to a head injury fund for patients who have long-term rehabilitative needs. And they are also on board with us to try to get this passed. So we're just trying to get the fund aligned with the cost of living, even though it'll be a little short of that. And then Representative Causer, who is the prime sponsor on the bill, did put in some support for rural areas in Pennsylvania for training, and also tried to support the ambulance services by identifying specifically that they would receive monies for medical equipment. And that's been a concern for a long time. So although it's not exactly everything we need it now. The COVID, what has happened to the fund, obviously police were not out writing tickets during the initial part of COVID. So right now the fund is about 40% behind. And under normal conditions, this would not have been a big problem because the fund has always operated with a little bit of a surplus, and that would have been fine. However, in 2011, the Rendell administration took $5 million from us, and as money was taken from you too. So we have no slush fund, we have no backup, and the recovery on this is probably going to be about 4 years, even with this passing, which we'll have to trudge through. But this is just a piece of what we need. Obviously, everybody knows we're fighting MA, we're fighting balanced billing, we're fighting all these other issues, direct pay. But this one's near the finish line, so we're really putting the heat on to get this done. So anything you can do with your senators, we really would appreciate just getting them to reach out to leadership. It is not even on the calendar yet for the 19th, which is the next session day. That's what our message is right now, to get it on, get it through, and it passed the House unanimously, and I'm sure a lot of you know that. So it really is so close that we just want to kick it over. Other than that, we have been involved, of course, with the authorities bill. We see it as a good tool for the toolkit. All this discussion that came up about the relief money and MA payments, we have not had dialogue on that. So I don't really know what's going on there, and I will find out. I appreciate the heads up on that. You know, our office is remote. The governor has asked, and since we're a contractor, the governor's asked if you can work remote. We took a 11% cut with this loss of the MSOP money, so we're doing some shifting as well, as PFESI has. We are too. And all the regional councils also took a hit, and many of you probably know that. But as far as I know, from talking to the Bureau, functions are still intact, and the 11% cut's probably as tight as everybody can get without seeing a lot of changes to regulatory actions. So that's our goal right now, and I'm happy to answer any EMS questions you have.
Jeanette, I have a question as the treasurer of the board of the Institute. There was an earlier question in reference to financial stability. You're the treasurer. I know that many of the board members have gone out, solicited funding, and did a great job on a personal basis. I know Jerry has been around doing the same soliciting. Is the board, and this is for the members joining us today, is the board in the right direction to continue financially maintaining?
Thank you for bringing it up. Yeah, thank you for saying that. Absolutely. We have not had to tap into any reserve funds. Actually, you know, in comparison to other nonprofits during this time, I would use the word stable. The money that has come in with sponsors has assisted us tremendously, and then Jerry also did receive some grant money. So I would say we are stable. I do, you know, just personally me, I think that we'll go through another period, probably more around the election than anything, where we might have some more bumps, probably till the end of the year. But I'm hoping that next year things will turn around and the COVID will start being under control more than it is right now, and we'll go back to normal. And we can make it through that.
All right. Thank you very much, Jeanette.
Yeah,
Do we have
thanks.
any- Thank you.
Question for Jeanette.
Hold
Yeah.
on. Go ahead.
Jeanette, when
Oh, I lost your audio.
Yeah, Tom, do your audio again.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. When the Federation closed formally, there was a transfer of about 300,000 from them to the Institute, and it was set up in something that I think they called a legacy fund.
Right.
What's the current balance in that account, and how much of that have we used? And if you can share with us what for?
Nothing has been
I don't-
used. I'm sorry.
We did touch a little bit about the legacy fund, and I think we need to just run that stuff by the board and discuss that at a board meeting and send the information from out there. I want to have everything accurate, and I'm still working. I've spoke to Tom in the past on this legacy fund, and I understand his interest and certainly his support in it. But I'd like to get a little bit more information before we just give out half.
Yeah, Frank, I'm not talking about the people that are leaving money to the Institute.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the money that came over from the Federation.
Okay. Okay.
It was set up in a separate account.
Okay.
And I think it was about 300 or 309,000. And I was asking what that balance is now, or what needs have we had to use it for?
Okay. Go ahead, Jeanette. I'm sorry.
Right. Since I've been treasurer, we have not used it. And I do not know the balance today. I'm not prepared for that, but I can happily give you that. We have been able to function off the income that we have.
So we haven't had to touch it, is what you're saying?
Not since I've been treasurer.
No. I'm not sure when you took over as treasurer.
Jeanette's been treasurer over the last year. Prior to Jeanette was Ray Laudenbaugh, and prior to Ray was yourself, Tom Savage.
Okay.
So that's
If you could get back to us with that information, I would appreciate it.
okay. Very good. Thank you. Anybody else?
Let's see here. Let me get down through. Anybody else raising their hand?
Jerry, I have a couple of questions if you
Sure.
want to
Go ahead,
Go
Tom.
ahead, Tom.
I did speak with, I sent a note actually to Kearney and Killian. They're the co-sponsors of that authority bill. And the answer I got back, I haven't had a chance to talk to them since I got it, but I got an email back which indicated there was some kind of a concern by the paid firefighters, but that seems to have been worked out or, put to bed. But I don't see that authority bill doing anything this year. It's still in the entry level. So, but they're still working very hard on it and hoping to get it through. But for now, it's not going to make it this year. I would agree also with Jim Carstetter. When you throw all these bills into one bill and make a humongous bill for everybody to consider it in a 2-week period or 3-week period, the odds aren't good that that thing's going to pass and everybody's going to be on the same page and agree. Hopefully that will happen. But I think we might be getting to the stage of the game where the Senate can't make it happen, so they throw it on a bill, send it back to the House, and that gives everybody a cover to say that we did the best we could, but it just couldn't work out all the details. And the last one is just on the request for a study or audit, Legislative Budget Committee. That's a committee, again, of the legislature. So we really want to see something done on that. We need to get a group of legislators in the House or Senate that are going to agree that that's worth doing, and then they have to go to the Legislative Budget Group and ask them to perform the study. So I think if you're serious about that might be a direction to go to make something happen, assuming we can get the legislators to agree it's important. That's all I have, Jerry. Thank you.
Got it.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Tom. I'm gonna ask,
interrupt just a second there to a point that Tom made about that Legislative Budget and Finance Committee audit. I made a motion at the SWAB meeting last August that we make that a formal request, and that motion carried. Did that request get made, and what response did we get?
I did verbally request that from my contacts there, and that was specifically. Actually, that was a letter that went. It was both two things requesting from LBFC. One was to take a look at the MSOF collection rate, and it was the Department of Revenue collection of relief. It was a higher level things on that, and we did not receive a response on that. No.
Might I suggest we send another request in?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jim. We'll follow up on that. Any other questions?
Any other questions or feedback from anyone?
Yeah, this is Joe Slavonic. I'm with the Washington County Firemen's Association. We have a training academy. So this is in regards to the junior firefighter information, changing the ability to actively fight fires. Now, would that be an alteration to the current child labor laws, which I believe we have to follow, or is this like an addendum or an exemption from the current laws?
This was yes, it was a change to the current child labor law. So there was a House bill that I cannot quite remember the name, the number of it, that was that deregulated a certain DCNR requirement for junior training for wildland firefighting. Okay, and there was an amendment placed on that bill by a senator from the northeastern part of Pennsylvania that stated it had to do with allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to take interior training and attend and go on real fires. Okay, attack real fires. And then I did a poll on that, and we got over 1,100 responses back on that. And the majority of people felt that it was okay for members to 16 and 17-year-olds to take the training. It was not okay. It was less to allow them to go on real calls and go into structure fires. We were working behind the scenes on that in the process, and it was ready to go, but that was then opposed by the administration / State Fire Commissioner's office. So it went nowhere. We were then re-asked by the Senate Veterans Affairs and Emergency Preparedness Committee to start this process again. So yes, it was an amendment to the child labor laws.
Okay, so that would be, I guess, just specific to firefighting programs then, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I'll ask again, any other questions? Is there any other business before the SWAB?
There are several other organizations that are on that I want to give a chance. Kevin Ressler from the Pennsylvania Professional Firefighters Association. He's one of the executive committee of the Pennsylvania Professional Firefighters Association. He was on the board of PFESI, but they have a new president, JT Pennington from Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, and I recently had a lunch with the guys. And Kevin, if you want to give a kind of report from your end.
Sure. I wanted to touch on the authority bill. I know someone mentioned that we had issues with it. One of the concerns was we were going to lose our Act 111, which is how we collectively bargain our heart and lung benefits, which is similar to your workers' comp, and then the ability to receive pension aid and grants. So the last I heard, the way they were going to address that moving forward was that you would remain municipal employees, because right now under the PA Constitution, the authority, we would lose all those things. Like you said, we heard as well that it's not going to move here now, but that was definitely one of our main concerns. The other thing that we are tackling right now is some of the police reform bills. 2582 was one of them out of the House. The unintended consequence was it was going to hurt us in bargaining under our Act 111. So everyone's been kind of like backing away from that bill now and looking at other avenues to do any police reform because they didn't intend to hurt police or I should say fire because of that. So those are the two big things on our radar right now.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Appreciate you attending.
You bet.
There's two other organizations I want to talk to, the Sprinkler Association and Steve Austin from Cumberland Valley. Dave, do you have anything, feedback or anything from Sprinkler Association for us? Okay. Steve Austin, do you have anything from Cumberland Valley?
Thanks, Jerry, for recognizing us. We're like you guys, we've resorted to Zoom meetings. They're turning out pretty good, but a little better than we expected. We had our convention at the end of August on Zoom. So our 119th annual convention. So we didn't break our record of being able to meet once a year in convention. We'll be having next, on the 24th, our fall meeting will be held right around the same time as you. We always start at 8:30 in the morning on Saturday morning and try to wrap up a little bit after 10, maybe 10:30 on that. We're busy as we always are with our signature program, Emergency Responder Safety Institute. And we were funded this year with the fire grant program to do some specific things in the Commonwealth, and there will be getting more information out on that. And that's to take the concept that was so successfully used to train folks to wear seatbelts by getting their kids to remind dad and mom that the seatbelts need to be worn before you drive the car. So we're going to take that concept, and we're working with a foundation over in the Philadelphia area that was founded by an attorney there who unfortunately lost his daughter to distracted driving, and has done a lot of work in educating in that area, just like we have. So we're going to be partnering with them with using fire grant funding to get a pretty robust public education campaign out. We're trying to make that nationally, but we will be having a press conference. Hopefully, if we can get together and do this, if not, we'll do it virtually during Distracted Driving Week, which takes place in the middle of April. We'll be using the National Safety Council to do a survey for us. We've used them in the past. They do excellent work. The survey will function on the influence that children have about safe driving practices, particularly distracted driving. And we hope to glean some good information from that, which will roll into the public education campaign. So that's our main focus of things that are going on in the Commonwealth. In addition, over the years, and Jerry, you know this because you've attended at least one or two of our meetings in Harrisburg. Thanks to Todd Lease, we've developed an outstanding cooperation with Turnpike Commission, and we think it's beneficial for them and also beneficial for us to continue that level of cooperation. They've been so helpful, and in that regard, Todd has been elevated. Todd Lease has been elevated to our Assistant Director of Training, learning from Jack Sullivan, another Pennsylvania boy, of course, and he's taking over more of that responsibility as we look into succession planning. So that's the things that are going on that are specific to the Commonwealth right now. We certainly look forward to getting back and having face-to-face meetings again. And what we did lose this year, which we were very disappointed about, was our 35th annual President's Council meeting. And for those of you that don't know about that, we've gathered together the presidents of state presidents on the East Coast for a number of years during our conference or convention for a roundtable on exchanging ideas. Many of you on this call have participated in that. It's a great program. But unfortunately with COVID, we had to forego that this year, but we plan on reviving it as soon as it's safe to do so. Thank you so much, Frank, and thank you, Jerry, for having us on this morning. Good luck to you, and everybody be safe.
All right, thank you, Steve. Is there any other business?
Frank, I'd like to make a suggestion on 1274 on that authorities bill. I think we're all aware that there's nothing going to happen with that this session, but I know that we've had several meetings up here, and I've passed that along to Jerry, some suggestions for changes to that thing. I'm wondering if we might want to put together a committee to take a look at some language changes that we would propose before that thing gets introduced next session. A couple of the things that we were looking at was eliminating that 51% thing and allowing for different municipalities to get together should they want to within a county and form an authority under different guises, maybe a career authority, a combination authority, a volunteer authority, and then allowing for a split between fire and EMS if they wanted to do strictly an EMS authority. Maybe they might want to do that on a county-wide basis, whereas a fire authority might comprise only several municipalities within the county. But anyway, I'd like to suggest we have a committee to look at some of the suggestions that have been collected and maybe come up with some recommendations for whoever is going to draft the bill next session.
Okay, Jim, that's a great idea. And that's kind of how we did the juvenile firefighter program. We reached out to people, volunteers. At the beginning, we included all those that had a say, and then we will bring that committee down to a more working environment so we can work. We don't have 50 people. We can get down to 10 people. But we can do the same thing. Jerry and I will work on that. We'll reach out, see what volunteers we get, and then bring that down to a smaller working committee. Thank you for your input and your idea. Any other business? Well, I just want to say thank you for all those that took time from your families and your businesses to spend time with us this morning. We just want to assure you we work every day, just as you do. It's just not, we had a SWAB meeting in October. We were able to set this up on behalf of request of the board. So we keep you posted on what's going on. And hopefully we'll see you all physically in March in York County. And we'll announce that date as it goes. Penny, is there anything that I may have not missed from your office? Penny?
I'm here.
I guess
there's nothing that I can think of that you've missed.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you, everybody. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Jeanette.
Yes.
And a second to Red. All those in favor, have a great day. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have good chicken wings. Have good chicken wings tonight.
All right. Thanks, Red. Have a great day. Bye-bye.